Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining on this webinar about the IP loudspeaker product introduction. So for today, I will be your host together with my colleague. My name is Maarten Wings. I am a regional marketing manager at Bosch for public address and voice alarm portfolio. And today with me is Dominic Tripel, who is the application engineer at the business unit communications at Bosch. So what is the objective of the webinar today? So we would like to excite you and introduce you to our new product, which we have, which is a family of IP horn loudspeakers. So what we would like to convey to you today is that you understand the product, that you know the use cases of this product, so where it is used, and also what benefits these products bring to your projects. So looking at the topics which we will quickly run through today is we will look at IP horn loudspeaker applications and use cases. We will make a deep dive on the product details and the various models that we have now newly introduced. We will give a short demonstration, and afterwards we will have a wrap up with time for questions and answering sessions. So let's start with the first section of this presentation. So it's the focus application. Where is this product actually being applied? So the IP horn loudspeaker is actually a device which allows you to do an intervention, for instance, in a security application. So what we see here is a classical case where you have a perimeter fence and where a person or an object is approaching the fence and is causing an unwanted event, which is alerted by, for instance, a smart camera with built-in video analytics. So what can we, for instance, do if you have now this event taking place? We can program a scripting in the camera, and we can make the camera automatically start an announcement on our IP horn loudspeaker, which, for instance, could be installed at one of the poles of the fence. So we call this scripting on the camera, alarm task script language. This is something supported on the Bosch cameras, which allows you to make a trigger transfer from the camera to the IP loudspeaker. So here we will look into some of the use cases in a bit more detail. So one of the use cases is live intervention and talkback. So imagine there is a security control room somewhere and there is somebody approaching a specific area where a person, for instance, is being seen by the control room operator. What we can then do is we can make an announcement to this person. So let's say somebody is approaching a fence or somebody is loitering on the parking area and we would like to intervene. Instead of sending a security guard, we can also make an announcement to the speaker, warning this person that a certain action is requested for him. There is also a talkback function. So if the customer is near the speaker and he speaks back, then this is actually something which the security operator can also hear. Then there is something which we called remote speaker test. So imagine that you have a certain facility, maybe a campus where you have various remote locations where you have these speakers installed, or maybe you have an airport application, or maybe a large industrial site where you have a long fence line and you have the speakers installed. So if you want to test the speakers during maintenance to ensure that they are also working, it would not make a lot of sense that you are really visiting every speaker physically. It will be very time consuming and very costly if you need to pay the man hours for that. So what we can do is we can do a remote check on the speaker. So what actually happens is that we make an announcement through the speaker, and the integrated microphone, which is also used for the talkback, is actually detecting the sound that is coming out of the speaker. And this information is provided back to the web interface of the speaker so that you can actually see that or verify remotely that there is a sound produced by the speaker because the microphone picked it up. So next to the testing of the sound, there is also a test of the Ethernet connection and also to ensure that the power over Ethernet is actually available at the unit remotely installed. So another feature of the speaker is that we have noise level triggering. So what we can do is we put a threshold which we program in the speaker, and if sound is certainly exceeding this specific threshold, then an automated announcement can be made. So where is this useful? So here you see the example of a parade which is passing by. So this is just an example to make it visible. But let's say you have a certain area where you would not expect a lot of noise, maybe at a bus station or something like this. You know, during the night when people are coming back from their outgoing activities, and there would be a riot, or suddenly there would be some fights with a lot of shouting and screaming. Um, this is something which the speaker can pick up. So this is a noise level which you usually would not expect when suddenly drunk people start shouting or people start fighting, and you can make the speaker then automatically make an announcement. So this is the feature. So you put a threshold on a noise trigger, and then the speaker makes an announcement automatically in a use case, for example, as I just described. So another thing is also the speaker has an automated volume control tuning. So what is that useful for? So if suddenly the ambient noise level increases, then also the sound that the speaker is producing to address the person near the speaker needs to be adjusted, because else the sound of the speaker will not be heard if it is on the same level as the noise itself. So a good example of this is a train platform, for instance. The noise level will be significantly higher when the train is rolling in compared to the time that it is actually quiet at the platform. So in both of the cases, you need to have another noise level or sound level being produced by the speaker. So there is the integrated microphone in the speaker, which measures the ambient noise level. If the ambient noise level is increasing, then also the sound produced by the speaker is increasing to ensure that the speaker is still being heard. So then there is a type of integration possible. Let's say we have now the use case that the camera and the speaker are mounted on the same pole, which is not so uncommon. This happens. So what we can do, we can make an interfacing between the speaker and the camera. So if the camera the camera has a line in and a line out, and also the speaker has a line in and a line out, that's what those two blue arrows are representing, then we can make an interfacing between both of the devices. Um, Often the security operator can actually speak through a camera, but the sound that is being produced by a camera is very limited. So if we now make the integration from the audio out to the line in of the speaker, then we actually can reinforce that sound production from the camera onto the speaker, so that we get a much higher sound production through the speaker itself. Yeah. If now a person starts talking back to the speaker, this is also something which is picked up by the speaker microphone, and we can feed that audio back into the camera, and the camera forwards that audio signal back to the security operator, who can then hear it on its microphone. So with this, we have an integrated solution where when both of them are physically near, so we can really wire between both of these two devices, that we get audio speech and talk back integrated between both the devices so that the operator can hear it. So next to this hardware integration between two devices on the same pole, there are also other integration options. So the speaker is actually equipped with a REST API and HTTP API, which allows you to create virtual triggers for playing recorded messages, but it also allows you to do a control of the device, like for instance, the volume control of the mains, the line out, the microphone line levels, etc. Afterwards, we will also see a little bit more details on that specific interface. Then one of the default interfaces that we have for the security control room is also the SIP interface. So this allows a security operator from the control room to actually dial the speaker and then start talking to the speaker. And if somebody speaks back to the speaker, he will hear that on the telephone set. So imagine it like this. You have, for instance, a perimeter fence, and you number the poles on the perimeter fence, or you have certain sections along the perimeter fence. And in the address book of the phone, for instance, you make naming of each of the specific areas which you can then call. So if you see somebody on the east side of the fence, or maybe at the checkpoint 23, you can look up in the phone book of the telephone checkpoint 23. Then you open the call. You can start speaking through the speaker, and if somebody talks back, you will hear the person. So as Bosch, we are actually a multi-domain supplier or a full liner one-stop shop. This is also one of the advantages of this setup, is that you can get the cameras as also the IP horn loudspeakers from one hand. So you can also rest assured that both of the devices are compatible and are also supported and tested by one vendor. We have various cameras, of course, in the portfolio. We have the fixed installation cameras, the bullet cameras, we have the moving cameras, we have the MIG cameras for outdoor and often perimeter fence protection, panoramic cameras, multi-imager cameras. So a vast range of camera units which can be combined with the IP loudspeaker, just depending a little bit on the installation environment where it is actually used. Yeah, so some of the aspects which we have with the cameras is obviously that we give a 5-year guarantee on the camera, that it is IoT certified, and also that we respect IT security on the devices to the highest level, and it's easy to install, simply ready to connect. One of the base elements, of course, for this use case, if you really want to have an automated scenario, is that you need to rely on analytics in the camera and the smartness of the camera. So if we really want to become cost efficient and move away from manual labor like security guards patrolling the fence, or people sitting in the control room trying to find the burglar, we can rely on the smartness of the device. So Bosch is already working with video analytics for a longer time. You see here that we have been on the path of evolution, where we have always come with new algorithms to improve the reliability and capabilities of detecting unwanted scenarios in the field. So we started really with video analytics, where we put some standard rules, like somebody crossing a specific line, or somebody entering an area, somebody walking in the wrong direction, specific objects entering an area, or filtering objects in a scene. This is something which we have done. Then we went along to the path of machine learning with a camera trainer. Then we went into even deep learning. And now we are at the stage of having even more application-specific scenarios, like counting of people, detecting of people, grouping of people, etc., etc. So all of these scenarios can be an input to raise a trigger at a security control room, which could require a follow-up by a security control room operator, which could then be done through the IP horn loudspeakers. So we have actually grouped our video analytics into 3 main topics with 3 target applications. So the first one would be IVA Pro around the building area. So we are talking here about securing the perimeter fence. We are talking about securing gates along onto the business parks, the parking lot which you might have at such an area. So this is something where we have a specific analytics for, and where we combine the IP loudspeaker to complete the use case, to really have the end-to-end solution. Same goes for the Pro Perimeter Pack. So the cameras are highly specialized for reliably detecting unwanted events along the perimeter line. This is also where you very often see the combination with something like an IP loudspeaker. So now having both the camera and the speaker, we can actually cover that use case. And then we have the traffic pack. So this is much more around monitoring traffic, counting cars, monitoring congestion on traffic areas. So also this is something where audio could be useful to support the use case in case of intervention. So this is then also what we have done. So this is kind of the application in a nutshell. So it's always the security operator which is monitoring or being hinted by the system on a specific event. May it be something around the perimeter fence, may it be a burglary, may it be loitering on a parking lot, whatever it is. And it's always the combination of then the trigger and the follow-up, which either can be triggered through the smartness of the camera, like the video analytics, or another option is that we have something through a more classic I/O interface. If an I/O is triggering something, this is also feedback that we can feed into this to this loudspeaker, and we can make an announcement or an intervention. Then we have another use case, which is dealing with remote areas or remote sites. So imagine we have here this long distance train platform, or we would have at an industrial site, some remote area. We always have the option to put there an IP horn loudspeaker, and in case intervention is required, we can call to the speaker and we can make a live intervention from any control room, a guardhouse, or whatever facility which is dealing with such. So this was a bit about use cases, framing the context where this product is being applied and how also the combination with video works. I would now like to hand over to my colleague, Dominic, who will guide you through the product details. Dominic, do you want to take over the screen now?
Yes, I will take over, so you can stop presenting and I will present my screen. Okay, so the new Bosch SIP-based IP horn loudspeakers are designed for excellent speech reproduction. So the housing is racked and water and dust protected, so it's ideal for outdoor and also severe indoor applications. The IP horn is by standard supplied with stainless steel mounting brackets. We have two different models. So the long throw with a higher output to cover long distances, and the wide angle version, which is more compact and has a broader coverage. Let's have a look at some key characteristics. There is a single cable operation possible, meaning power, communication, and also control all in one cable. We have DSP with equalizer and presets for music and speech is integrated. We have an internal message storage and also player, and GPIO and line in, line out audio connections. Direct camera integration based on the Bosch Alarm script language, and making announcement from a SIP-based system with a talkback via the built-in microphone if needed. Let's have a closer look at the built-in microphone. It can be used, as already said, for SIP communication and for testing the loudspeaker. And also for noise triggering, means noise detected by the microphone can be used then to start an action like playing a message, and it can be used for automatic volume control. If the microphone is not needed, it can also be disabled via a hardware switch inside the loudspeaker. Here you can see the back of a loudspeaker with the connectivity details. So on the left-hand side is a PoE network port for power, communication, and control. And on the right-hand side, we have a block divided into two parts. The first part is the GPIO terminal with one GPO and one GPI. And the second is the audio terminal with one line in and one line out. Below we have the on-off switch for the microphone, and there is a physical button for test and reset purposes. So this button will perform different actions depending on how long you press it. The IP loudspeakers and the module can work with PoE and PoE+. Depending on that, we have a different maximum sound pressure level. The IP speaker has a 300 MB storage capacity for messages with the 5 formats like well-known WAV and MP3. Several protocols are supported like NTP, TCP, UDP, and so on. Additional to the two loudspeaker modules, we have also an IP amplifier module. So the Bosch SIP-based IP amplifier module is designed as flexible solution. It interfaces with an IP SIP system on one side and has low impedance and line level output on the other side for connection to loudspeakers directly or via a local amplifier. It almost has the same key characteristics as the IP speaker, except for the microphone. Here you can see the connection details of the amp module. So again, PoE network port for communication, zip and control on the left-hand side, then the GPIO terminal and the audio terminal, and what is additional here available, so only available on the amp module, is the passive loudspeaker connection on the right-hand side. Also, the IP amp module has a physical button for the test and reset purposes. The line out of the amplifier module is parallel to the loudspeaker out, except you set a manual routing. So if you are calling the module via SIP, it can be either routed to the low impedance output or to the line output and then using a local amplifier. So we have two different options using the amplifier module. So the SIP, so the session initial protocol, is a signaling protocol used to manage, so to initiate, to maintain, and terminate communication sessions involving voice, video, and messages. So it is a specific technology that can be used for voice over IP. In the IP horn and in the AMP module, you can create two types of accounts. The peer-to-peer account, applicable for direct SIP phone to IP horn communication, and also the registrar account, applicable if the IP horn is connected to a SIP server. If you may want to link a Bosch camera to the IP speaker or module so that it plays a message when an action occurs, you can do this via the alarm task script. So you create a special API profile and a rule at the IP speaker or module. Then you need to create a script in the camera using the alarm task script language and configure the areas that trigger the alarm at the camera. This script will then trigger a virtual input of the IP speaker module, which starts then the message. An integration of the IP horn speaker in the BVMS can be done via scripting. With Genetec, we have an integration of the IP horn speaker in Sibelius using ZIP, and a milestone integration via OnWave Profile T is planned for Q4 of 2023. In a system with many devices, and operators may want to centrally supervise all devices and start actions. A quick and easy way to do this is to share system states over an HTTP API. So the main function is to set virtual contacts, but you can also then read out status information from virtual GPOs, from virtual GPIs, or system states like message playing. The configuration of the loudspeaker and also the amplifier module is done via web-based GUI. So you just need to open a browser and enter the IP address or the host name of the device. There is no default password, so this requires you to register an administrative account for the device. Then you're logged in and can use the overview page to view the few important sections like users, zip accounts, messages, and rules of the web interface. And on the left-hand side, you have the navigation menu to access all functions of the device. Before starting configuration and operation of the loudspeaker and the module, it is advised to download the firmware from the Bosch product catalog and update the firmware using the Omnio firmware upload tool. The IP address detection can then be done using the Omnio firmware upload tool or the Bosch configuration manager, as the IP speaker and the module support OnWave discovery. So once you have the IP address or the host name, you can then log on with the web browser and start configuration. In the web-based GUI, you can use the device test, as Martin already said. So the device test field allows you to perform 3 different types of tests to your device. One is the loopbacks, which is only available for the IP horn loudspeaker. It tests the speaker and the microphone. Then you have the Ethernet. It tests the speed of the Ethernet, and the power supply test, which tests the actual power supply consumption. You can also define a GPO action that runs when the trigger action is present, and the results of the device tests can be provided via the HTTP API. There is a complete list of states and services available via the HTTP API. So you just need to type in the IP address of the horn plus API index.html to get an overview of the possibilities of the API and also to test and demonstrate the API. So with this HTTP API, it is possible getting and setting virtual GPIOs, getting system states like PoE state, or if there is high memory usage, if the speaker test is active, what is the result of the speaker test. And it's also possible to get and set controls like user level, mic level, and line level. So this site helps you to demonstrate and also to test the API in a very easy way.
Yeah, please stay in touch with us around this product. We will also in the coming course of time promote it heavily. It's a new product for Bosch, which we know there is a lot of request and demand for. So I would like to thank you for your attention. Dominique, thank you for supporting on the webinar from the technical side. And then I wish you all a very good remainder of the day. Thank you for attention very much.